to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah.
Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly on your own terms. Great news coming out of Africa, beloveds. It looks like our governments are finally responding, or have been responding, to be very fair, to the plight of our African brothers and sisters who have found themselves caught up in World War III in Ukraine. And it says, you know, this was run by you. You see how Europeans love this. They're loving this narrative. You know, they were the first ones to show, African students being discriminated by Ukraine, no way out, blah, 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 not being allowed on the trains and everything. I'm so glad. But it was our people on the ground who showed that, and it was picked up by international media quicker than it was picked up by some of our own media. Those are stories for other days. But they say, African countries have actually intensified efforts to evacuate their nationals from Ukraine. The African Union has urged governments to respect international law. The African Union even came out and said they didn't like the racism that was seen, blah, blah. I'll share a separate story on that. The whole war of narratives. Remember, beloved, this shows you it's all about the narrative. It's absolutely about the narrative. You know, our governments remind me sometimes of our parents when they don't want to be embarrassed, like when they may be doing something, and then when the other friends find out, they're like, oh, okay, yeah. In fact, even my daughter is going to be doing that, but they had told you no. It's that kind of vibe. Like, it's all about the image. That's why I say, beloveds, it's all about the narrative. And they say, although some students are happily back with their families, many remain stranded in the Ukraine and at border points neighboring to Poland. Other Africans have chosen to stay in Ukraine, particularly those without resident permits. So the ones who are illegally there were like, you know what, we'll stay in World War III and just stay there. That's crazy. Europe is not where it's at. Our people really need a quick crash, like re-education, but some of the countries that responded, Zimbabwe actually said that it had evacuated its 118 students from Ukraine to Romania, Hungary, Slovenia, and Poland. Some 79 Kenyan students left Ukraine following Russia's invasion, and they also went to Poland, Romania, and Hungary. However, according to Kenyan authorities, only one student had arrived back in Kenya, but the Kenyan government had actually said that they were coordinating the evacuation of many other students. Nigeria said 256 of its nationals had left Ukraine, although we hear that Nigeria might actually have 5,600 nationals in Ukraine. The Buhari actually came out and said that they had put aside, I think, some money. I keep saying this $8 million. I think I saw it somewhere in an article to evacuate Nigerians. Tanzanian foreign minister said that 38 students in Ukraine had crossed into neighboring Poland, and officials at the Tanzanian embassies in Germany and Sweden were overseeing the repatriation of all Tanzanians, all stranded inside Ukraine. Even Gambia said it was coordinating with Morocco and Nigeria on the possible evacuation of its citizens. Oh, that's so cute. That's amazing. African countries should come together and but if Gambia can get its people out, man. Although Gambia is a special place, but small Gambia, what are other countries doing? Ivory Coast said, apparently the foreign minister, Kandia Kamara, she held meetings with envoys from EU, US, and the divided kingdom to seek their support in evacuating Ivorians. Hey, so much is going on. So Guinea's foreign minister said it had created a crisis unit to help coordinate the evacuation of its citizens. And wow. And let me just say, when the news initially broke of how our African students, who are mainly engineering students and medical students pursuing those higher level degrees there, when they first heard about this. A lot of embassies moved straight into action, and they like started to, they provided at least a contact number, because a lot of them don't have embassies in Ukraine, but they have neighboring embassies in neighboring countries that oversee Ukraine. So a lot, even Somalia, guys. I don't see it in this article because these guys are biased, but even Somalia had a point person at their German embassy, and they were allowing people to come through. Ethiopia also, they actually said their embassy was, the people could reach out either to, I think, Belgium or it was either Belgium or Germany or something. Please check the comments. I'll put all those contact details there for any students or family who have students or people that they know in Ukraine. So yeah, and I think there was even Ghana. There was one country that has an embassy in Ukraine that said the embassy was operating like 24/7. But I gave those details in a community post, so definitely check, and all the contact numbers. But Africa, we're doing something. This is so exciting. And I think it's important that, it's important that we get this narrative out. And the way these Mzungu newspapers, Africa rushes to evacuate nationals from Ukraine, they're all playing with this, but it shows you it's not the same narrative in Africa. We're not going to leave up. We shouldn't have that lack mentality narrative. Oh, we're abandoned by our governments, everything. But it shows that when we put our voice to something, these governments will actually act. Anyway, let's take a short break. When we come back, I'll tell you, if you're abroad, what you need to be doing in terms of being connected to the government in case sugar hits the fan, especially for those who have decided to stay. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki. So it's so exciting to see our African governments jumping into full gear to rescue our African students. Many who have been told were actually pursuing like engineering degrees, medical degrees, etc., etc., heavily recruited by the Ukrainian government. Stories for other days. But this is absolutely amazing, and just changing that narrative. I think we can all give a collective sigh of relief. And what I loved the most was how Gambia got in touch with Nigeria and Morocco, like, yo, bring our people home. I think that's the kind of camaraderie, but they need to get used to doing this. And I think we also need to, this confirms to us the power of our voices. We may not have much in this Babylon narrative, beloveds, but we have a voice that makes our governments take action. So it's so important, like, these Twitter wars, these Twitter campaigns, Twitter movements, Twitter demonstrations, because it's like our African governments, it's like they don't want to face public embarrassment or whatever. So they're so quick to respond, in a positive, in a way to at least get our people out. But let's hope it's also a benevolent thing, that they actually love their people and they want to see them safe. Although sometimes I also feel like our African governments, they get the information at the same time that we do. They may have had the signs, because they're not really part of the Babylon system. So it's like, and then they want to put themselves in there, as we say in Kenya, jipoks, into the whole system, when there's a whole other thing going on between Russia and Ukraine and what's happening. I've told you guys, the world is a theater. But for you who really still believe that Europe is where you need to be, and maybe just because of circumstances, like we've seen, some Africans have actually decided to stay in Ukraine because of residence permits issues, etc., being there illegally. So if they leave, they can't go back, But the most important thing, and I think that we can learn from this Ukrainian situation, is get in touch and register with your embassy. Whatever African country you're from, find out which embassy is in, because I think most countries don't have embassies in every single country in Europe, but they do have in main ones. So make sure they know your name, they know your children's name, they know your family member's name, because this is not, sadly, Ukraine and what's happening in Ukraine is not going to be a one-off. So it's so important that you also get in touch with your local association locations so that when sugar hits the fan, people know where you are, people can locate you, and you can collect together. Because beloveds, there's also so much power when we come together, even in these circumstances and situations. And it shows you our voice. I'm telling you, we have the power. We have the power of voice as a collective people. The minute we complain, the minute we highlight a discrimination being done, the whole world jumps. Because I think even the Ukrainian government actually released a statement where they were trying to apologize or say that, no African should be discriminated against as they try and cross the borders or take the free trains to the borders. And it's all because of this public shame that they got from the videos that went viral. So at least we can do that. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll definitely add all the contact information that I have in a pinned comment. And this is exciting. I'd love to hear from you guys. Tuko pamoja.